With long-term pension liability for the city of Houston. I talk about it at every opportunity. We still have hope that there will be some minor pension reform in Austin in the legislative session this year, although it doesn't give us what we asked for, which is the ability to negotiate with all three of our pensions. Healthcare costs are a continuing concern as well. We spend, I believe, $300 million a year, roughly, on healthcare costs for our employees and their dependents and our retirees. We did an overhaul of the benefits, but we're going to be delving down into that again. We're in the third year of our new wellness program. We will be going out on the market to see if we can drive the costs down, and we're going to continue to try to right-size our health benefits. But cities are service organizations. Roughly 75% of what we spend is salaries and overhead. And that overhead is pension and health benefits. And as a service organization, it's about watching costs, but also doing it in a manner that you maintain a sustainable system for the employees who have to do the service. We want to be in dialogue with our employees as we determine what's the right level of health benefits we have, and we want to be in dialogue with our retirees on what's the appropriate pension sustainability for the city of Houston. And I actually want to compliment my three employee unions. They sat down and negotiated with me in my first year in office. Had three contracts come up, one right after another. And we sat across the table and said, the city's hurting, we need your help. And all three unions negotiated flat contracts for 2 years. We had budget relief and no increases. And in fact, most particularly, I want to thank the HPOU, the police union, that gave up a guaranteed pay raise. The other two unions didn't have that, but the police gave up a guaranteed pay raise to say, we're all in this together. This year is when those deferred, compensation items begin to come up. And they don't all come up simultaneously, but the first to kick in is the HOPE, our municipal civilian employees. They not only negotiated 2 years of no benefit increases, but they went a step further and said, in that third year, we'll ask for 2%, and if the economy picks up enough, we'll take 3. And but we understand we're not going to ask for 3. We'll wait and see what happens. And they were willing to trust the administration that we would play fair and be honest, not try to hide anything in the books. And so our municipal employees are getting that 3% this year. So all three of our employee groups are getting pay raises this year. So again, it's not a budget that allows us to do everything we want to do, but it allows us to provide the level of services we think are appropriate. It gives us the management tools to continue to find efficiency so we can put more services back out in the community. And we have made progress on health benefits and pensions, which are going to be a continuing concern until, I think, health benefits until it gets sorted out on the national level, and pension benefits until we have local control over our three pensions. We're going to continue to fight to do that.
Mayor, this afternoon there are going to be some representatives of HOPE who are going to appear at council to talk about their belief, essentially, that a lot of downtown property owners are not paying their fair share of taxes. Concern of yours, too. Can you outline that for us, what the problem is?
I agree that a lot of downtown property owners are not paying their fair share of taxes. It doesn't just hurt the city, it doesn't just hurt the county, it particularly hurts our school districts. This is actually an issue that came up when I was controller, and right after Mayor White and I came into office, I sat down when he was in this office with him and representatives of the appraisal district, and he did an interesting exercise. He took the annual reports of a number of the major refineries that border Houston and looked in there and showed what those refineries were telling their shareholders that their facilities were worth. And then he pulled out the records of the Harris County Appraisal District and showed what they told the taxpayers those refineries were worth, and it was just pennies on the dollar. The problem is not the Harris County Appraisal District. The problem is not that the local entities down here don't care how things are appraised. The problem is that for commercial property, state law only allows essentially the bricks and sticks to be valued, not the rental rates. If you see an announcement that an office tower has changed hands downtown and it's sold for $300 million, and you go to the appraisal district and you see that they've protested their taxes, the day after that transaction goes through and say, oh, but it's really only worth $200 million. There is a problem there, but state law allows them to do it because state law doesn't take into account the other elements of what values a downtown commercial property. This is something that I know all of the cities across the state are interested in, and many of the other taxing authorities. Change has to happen in Austin, but what it means is that commercial property owners really aren't paying their fair share, which means that residential property owners, which for most of us, our properties are fair, we may complain, but they're fairly valued in that anything that's listed on MLS, we know exactly what it's worth, that there's enough turnover in the residential market here that there are lots of comparables. So our value is much closer to what an actual market value is than the commercial values. We're going to work with HCAD. In fact, interestingly enough, over the last week, we've had several meetings with HCAD. I met yesterday with the city's representative to the HCAD board. We're going to work with Hope. We'll work with anybody else to try to figure out how to fairly value commercial property so that commercial property, just like residential property, is really tied to what the market value is.
Mayor, you mentioned maintenance, fleet, IT improvements. Does this budget make up for past deferrals, and if not, what's the timeline on where you think we're adequately funding these in the moment?
This budget doesn't make up for past underfunding of fleet and IT, but it's not. I could have gone in and said we're going to do it just the way we always have. I have a lot of aged vehicles that we're getting to where the maintenance costs are more than buying a new vehicle. There's a lifespan on a vehicle. But I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past where we go out and buy and replace everything at one time. So you have all your vehicles are the same age and they age out at the same time. We're going to bite the bullet and begin to do that level purchase for our fleet. So we're transitioning to that. I think we'll get there over the next couple of years. We're just not going to, it would be a mistake to try to catch up the way we've caught up in the past. IT is a little bit different in that the technology changes so rapidly. And one of the problems for the city is that we have purchased custom software. And there are times when we have decided we have to do custom software. For example, in our municipal courts, we're the only court of this kind in the United States, the largest fine-only court in America. We were huge. There just wasn't a commercial product out there that would allow us to do what we needed to do. But there are many other things that we do as a city where instead of buying something off the shelf, which is supported over time, we wanted a custom solution. We are working through a whole range of IT areas. We've underfunded our IT for a long time, but it's not just about funding, it's about thinking about what you need. The other problem we've had is that each different department, both in fleet and IT, made their own decisions. with the creation of a consolidated fleet department and the creation of a consolidated IT function, we have control over that and we can leverage things. They're often, this department needs a particular aspect of a software program, this department needs a different aspect of that software program, but it's the same software program. In the past, they would probably have gone for a custom solution. So we're trying to be more strategic about that.
Mayor, question out of left field here,
Really?
very specific question about a budgetary item here. After that shooting a couple of weeks ago at IH Bush, have there been any changes in numbers of personnel dedicated to security at IH Bush over the past few months or years?
Airports and airport security is largely dictated by FAA. And I will point out that this was an incident of apparently deliberate suicide by cop. He was outside the screening areas, and the situation was responded to. There was adequate security there. They got there and took charge of the situation. But we believe, as I said earlier, the best can get better. Everything we do across the city of Houston, we are continuously looking to improve. Now, so everybody go home and
Sorry, Mayor, you wore us out.